Once regarded as a supreme artifact in the fairy world, the unrestrained has now been turned into a scrap by an old lamp and placed in the utility room for 80 years. Everyone thought it was just an ordinary ornament, but I just whispered the ring's real name. The ring took the initiative to break through the glass and flew towards me, which immediately stunned the old lamp next to me, just because it was a cursed ring. All who touched him were inexplicably violent, yet I was unscathed, and I was able to use the furious energy of the ring to my advantage. It turns out that I was originally an immortal cultivator in the world of immortal cultivators. After 9983 difficulties, he finally achieved the first king. Still, I was told that the fairy world was already full of immortals, unable to accommodate more immortal kings. I was willing to see the sky directly, but when the immortal gate opened, it was not the heavenly palace immortal realm that greeted me. It's a mixed doubles of two little yellow hairs. One of the thugs went on a rampage and let me get under his feet and let him go. Seeing that I was indifferent and waved my fist, he rushed up. However, his attack seemed to me like a child's play. I found that there was not the slightest fluctuation of spiritual power in these people. Suddenly I knew that I had come to an unknown world. I kicked the thugs out with my feet. The other little daisy suddenly rubbed a ball of blue energy to attack. I password to let you know what a superpower is. However, even if he cultivates to the end of his own corpse. But with this little Carla can't be my opponent either. One punch directly made him an honest man. Just as I was ready to finish them off, I only heard a plop, and the two of them knelt down together. Big brother, we know it's wrong. Please spare us. Lost. The two scolded as they ran. Lizan's waste material has awakened. Go back and tell the boss. Hear the name Lizan. I suddenly remembered. The original owner of this body is called Lizan. Both parents died when he was a child. Since then, he has been the target of bullying by others. And no one in this world will be leisurely. It's about cultivating something called superpower. I don't know how I came to this world, but what comes is safe. At this moment, a white thigh suddenly came into view. I saw a pink-haired girl with a delicate face rushing towards her with a worried face. She is the daughter of Lizan's adoptive mother. He is also the only one who cares about Lizan. Apparently her ability is healing. After a while, Lizan's skin injuries could not be recovered. This also gave Lizan a new understanding of the superpowers here. It's probably similar to the original immortal arts or something. It's just that his days made the priest mistakenly think that he had broken his brain. Immediately, a brain meltdown woke up Lizan. Are you okay? Why don't you speak? Of course it's fine. How mere mortals hurt me. Lizan instinctively used the tone of the fairy king. However, this only confirms the fears of the sacrifice. Good autism is even added with paranoia. This is really embarrassing. But anyway, let's go home first. Along the way, there were all kinds of high-rise buildings, and the army was something he had never seen before. There are even vehicles comparable to immortal arts, which can travel thousands of miles in a day. As for the men, women, and children who are not well dressed, although there is a ritual law, but it's not about being free from the shackles of salvation. Until a picture of a supernatural person appeared in front of him, Lizan strengthened his determination to rebuild his consciousness. Even though the road ahead is unknown, there are all kinds of dangers. Nor can it erase his long-cherished wish to get a non-life. Lizan was dragged all the way to a place called East Street 08. This is the home of the host and the shrine. It's just that I didn't expect to meet a guest as soon as I entered the house. Lizan only knew that he was the biological father of the shrine. Was discovered by his wife due to private foreign affairs. It was only then that Ryu joined forces with him and took the sacrifice away. However, afterwards, he did not quit their lives as promised. On the contrary, there are frequent troubles with them. Although the host's memory does not have the reason for his visit. But thinking about it, the appearance of this kind of scum is definitely not a good thing. Even if it's to avoid getting yourself into trouble in the future. Lizan also needs to recover his strength as soon as possible. Just when he wants to know more about this world. The two mothers who hugged each other and abandoned fell asleep directly because they cried too hard. Lizan, who was helpless, could only choose to find a quiet place first. See if your exercises are feasible in this world. Enter the body with chi and nourish the spirit of man with the spirit of heaven. Fortunately, with the operation of this set of self-created exercises, sure enough, Izan sensed the aura. It's a pity that the aura of this world is thin and pitiful. Even with the help of the primeval spirit, it can only condense 3 spiritual powers. But in order to soar to become an immortal, no matter how difficult it is, he must persevere. But gradually he realized that something was wrong. The speed at which the aura condenses in the body is getting faster and faster. A majestic energy suddenly burst out of the body. The first king was pleasantly surprised to find that this body was actually a rare innate Tao master. Under such harsh conditions, her cultivation had reached the realm of the 5th layer of chi refining in a blink of an eye. However, before she could feel the surprise, an exclamation of surprise suddenly reached her ears. Immediately afterwards, a girl dressed in cool clothes fell in front of her. Behind her was apparently an alcoholic sinner. It's just that for some reason, the girl seems to have a hard time running. At present, he is even sending a plea for help to Lizan. Li Zan stared at the girl seriously for a while. It is indeed very difficult to identify girls. As a righteous person, she should certainly draw her sword to help. What's more, this scumbag's mouth stinks terribly. Seeing that Li Zan had to meddle with the man, he was completely blind. A buzzing blue light suddenly appeared all over his body. Lao Tzu is going to give you a taste of the power of the second level ability today. The power of the bursting thunder and lightning gushed out in an instant. In the blink of an eye, he touched Li Zan. But when he was about to hit Li Zan, the thunder and lightning suddenly stopped, and out of thin air, it condensed into ice crystals and spread back to the man's body. The man's face was full of disbelief. He couldn't believe such a young boy. It will be a superpower with a higher level than itself. However, Li Zan's fists will tell him everything. It seems that the superpowers are nothing more than that. With just one blow, the man fell to the ground and never got up again. But at this time, Li Zan's back was attacked again. Two soft and glutinous things squeezed his back strongly. It turned out that the girl smelled Li Zan's body. The smell of a mature man suddenly obsessed him. I really want to be able to crush this man under me right away. Fortunately, Li Zan's heart is strong. At a glance, I could see the abnormality of the blood flow in the girl's body. So in order to relieve the current dilemma as soon as possible, he grabbed the girl's body. Immediately after that, the aura immediately gathered at the fingertips. Then in the girl's delicate panting, she frantically hit the corresponding acupuncture points, until a breath of jade gas was blocked by the girl. Only then did he return to normalcy and fall asleep. After removing the drug, you will probably be able to wake up with half a cup of tea. But before Li Zan could breathe a sigh of relief, trouble came to the door again. The brother, who was late for a long time, accidentally bumped into Li Zan, who was holding his sister. Mistakenly thought that Li Zan was the Xiao Xiaoxi who bullied his sister. As a third-level ability, Gu Tianjue. Without saying a word, a raging fire ignited. The other party is in the afterlife, and Li Zan doesn't even have time to explain. So he immediately pushed the girl aside. Then a random sideways dodged the opponent's attack. Obviously, even if Li Zan only has 5 layers of practice, it's more than enough to deal with these superpowers. Immediately afterwards, Li Zan grabbed the man's wrist. An over-the-shoulder fall slammed the opponent into a tree. The speed of the two sides is clearly not on the same level. Gu Tianjue, who knew that he was invincible, had one more conjecture in his heart. Could it be that this guy is from the Super Energy Academy? But it doesn't matter who the other party is. I just can't bully my sister. I saw that Gu Tianjue's whole body suddenly became hot. In just an instant, the surrounding air was covered in flames. This was Gu Tianjue's strongest blow. Blaze Star, although it is not yet fully mastered. But he is confident that he can definitely clean up Li Zan. It's a pity that he met Li Zan, who has a natural Dao body. He can weaken all attacks within a certain radius. So this level of flame can't even enter Li Zan's body at all. Gu Tianjue is fierce. He thought he had run into Tinka's own Earth elemental superpower. When I was about to ask about the identity of the other party, Li Zan suddenly became concerned about his body, because the heat on Gu Tianjue's body was getting more and more intense. Apparently there was a backlash. However, before Gu Tianjue could react, Li Zan took the lead in rushing over. It's just that he didn't want to kill Gu Tianjue. It's about treating him. As the fingertips of the youth kept jumping in his body, Gu Tianjue miraculously found that his sequelae were cured. His face was full of incredulity, but more of a puzzle. Until this point, Li Zan explained the ins and outs. Only then did I realize that I might have misunderstood the other party. In addition, my sister also woke up at this time, and personally corroborated Li Zan's statement. Gu Tianjue said sorry to Li Zan embarrassedly. Since it was a misunderstanding, just say it. The person who came was Gu On, the grandfather of the Gu family. Thank you very much for Li Zan's rescue of the old man, and invited him to go to the house to give him a chance to repay. It's just that Li Zan doesn't like this kind of socialization. Rejected the old man on the spot. However, the old man saw some clues from Li Zan's move just now. Immediately inquired about Li Zan's insincerity. Wanyan Li Zan's heart suddenly tightened, at the same time of refusing to inform. I can't help but speculate more about the identity of this old man. After all, he is an old man who has no aura at all. I can even feel the changes in my aura. This person is by no means simple. It's just that for now he has to go home first. Prepare for the start of tomorrow's school year. Aunt Lu prepared her clothes early and waited at home. Li Zan subconsciously got to the raw shoes. Was almost sent to the clue by the shrine. Fortunately, my sister was soon given a gift by her mother, to attract the past. After all, it cost my mother 3 months' salary. Why don't you have such treatment? The shrine was jealous for no reason, which made my mother feel strange for a while. But Li Zan, who saw it in his eyes, understood it in his heart. The mother and daughter really treat themselves as family. Case. He also had to take on the responsibility of protecting the family. Yedu University is the city's top aristocratic school. The students are not very wealthy, and most of the teachers and students also have superpowers. It's just that Li Zan didn't expect it. Before he even entered the school gate, he caused a sensation. It turned out to be Li Zhanshi's handsome hanging scum who changed into a hard outfit. Gone are the fools of the past. In its place is the admiration of thousands of young girls. Of course, there are some extreme glances among them. After all, a fool can hook up with a kernel flower. This makes anyone who sees it convincing. It turned out that Li Zhan borrowed the relationship of the shrine. I have the opportunity to come here as an auditor. It's just that because of the usual stupidity. That's why they became the target of bullying by these powerful children. And it's not like he's wearing a like A. It's going to get better. The expected trouble soon followed. The priest was the first to react, and pulled Li Zhan to go back. But Li Zhan was stunned and stood in place. The big gold chain headed by him is called Chenghu. It's a powerful additional girl in the school. It was also several attempts to pursue sacrifices to no avail. And the guy who often troubles Li Zhan. As he spoke, he grabbed Li Zhan's collar and wanted to give him a good look. As everyone knows, today's Li Zhan has already become a golden tin cake. Who would blame him for his stinky problem? Li Zhan's means of directly catching the other party. Just a little bit of force. It hurts so much that Qian Hu stabs frogs and spangles. If you look closely, it is. His palms had begun to turn blue due to the blockage of blood flow. The sacrifice was also frightened. He didn't know when Li Zhan had such great strength. But what's more worrying? How is he going to deal with the negligence of the 5th level ability? The cultivation system of this world is divided into 8 levels. Among them, the beginner ability is subdivided into 9 layers. The rest of the realm is divided into 3 stages, upper, middle, and lower. And Qian Hu's 5th level ability is equivalent to the level of practicing the 5th layer. However, whether it is ripe or strong or weak can only be known after fighting. The 2 younger brothers who were supporting Qian Hu were obviously the 2 hooligans that the first king met when he entered and exited here. From their mouths, Qian Hu learned that Li Zhan may have really awakened his strength and righteous ability. But a fool is a fool. Even if he awakens, Lao Tzu will kill him. With an order, the 2 younger brothers took the lead in attacking. The sacrifice was in front of the stupid brother for the first time. But where can he resist fighting and doing righteousness? Fortunately, Li Zhan quickly hugged him back. As a result, the fist of the person who came not only missed, also ate Li Zhan's scud. Quickly stretched out his hand to see the priest stunned. Not only did he question Li Zhan's condition, but now is not the time to explore this. Because the fist of another adeptus has followed. With the blessing of the power crystal, it seems that his attacks are a little different. Li Zhan immediately counterattacked, but it didn't hit the other side directly. Immediately, another figure turned into the back. It's a pity that in Li Zhan's eyes, these are only 7 seconds. In a slap in the face that wants to call the campus, the man flew back wherever he came from. Qian Hu, who witnessed everything, was furious. To hit his little brother was to slap him in the face. As soon as the golden light burst out, the dazzling fist that gathered all the strength of his body sucked straight towards Li Zhan's face. This is Qian Hu's proudest skill. As the young master of Wanjintang, only he, who has studied ability since childhood, can use the bright fist that far surpasses his peers. Deal with the newly awakened brain in front of you. It's as simple as stepping on an ant. But the strange thing was that Qian Hu's fist stopped in front of Li Zhan. It wasn't that he canceled the offense. It's that the other party's fingers are too strong. The medicine light fist that he is most proud of is even more difficult to get into. And the most shocking thing is Li Zhan's aura. In front of him, Qian Hu only felt that he was the ant. Immediately after that, his body went limp, and he fell backwards unconsciously. Looking at Li Zhan and Qian Hu, who were approaching step by step, they were all fierce. He didn't understand the medicine light fist, which even a 6th level ability couldn't stop. How could he, a newly awakened fool, do that? It can only be said that the use of their own abilities by these capable people is really too poor. It was so bad that even Li Zhan was very disappointed. But Li Zhan didn't plan to stop like this. In order to avoid such troubles, I am looking for the door. He must kill the chicken and the monkey today. None of the onlookers stepped forward to host. Instead, they cast approving glances at Li Zhan. I think many people have also suffered from it. And what Li Zhan is most happy about is the sacrifice. After all, Li Zhan's awakening not only brought him back to normal, it also allows him to finally be free from bullying. It's just the sacrificial arm tightly held in his arms. But it made Li Zhan quite uncomfortable. A fragrant bud rushing to the face. It is even more so that this long-time unbeknownst person. First, a touch of red jade appeared on his face. The news of Qian Hu's beating did not go further. Soon it reached the ears of his father, Chen Yo. I was still enjoying the 9 laws of the lamp hole. He lost interest for a moment, was immediately so angry that he was moved to kill. I think of him as the son of the master of the hall. I was beaten up by a fool and urinated. Even the young master can't look at it well. What else do you want to do? As he spoke, he put the cigarette butt in his hand, reached out to the door of his head. Originally, I thought he was just trying to look at prejudices. Unexpectedly, after a burst of blue energy, treating people was directly burned into conversation, and Chun continued to arrange revenge as if nothing happened. The people on the side were expressionless. It seems that this kind of thing has long been commonplace. At the same time, the other side. After a day of study, Li Zan has gained a lot. He was pleasantly surprised to find that the place called the school contained a richer aura than other places. In just one day, he was able to practice 7 layers of wisdom. In time, it should soon be able to reach the state of cultivating the peak of the 9th layer. The school is such a great place to be. However, this made the mood of the sacrifice that had just been relaxed tense again. This kid shouldn't be sick again. It's just that in comparison, he is more worried about Wan Jintang's revenge. After all, Li Zan did beat him. With his family's erasure, he will definitely not give up. I just didn't expect this moment to come so quickly. The glass beside him suddenly began to vibrate inexplicably. Li Zan immediately sensed that something was wrong, at the same time that he was protecting the sacrifice. Sure enough, all the surrounding glass burst open in an instant. If it weren't for Li Zan, even if he took action, he controlled the situation. I'm afraid these passers-by will suffer because of this. Panic erupted in the surroundings. The crowd that landed firmly also immediately scattered and fled. But it's clear that all this is for Li Zan, because there was already a visible blood mark on his cheek. Although it was due to distraction that led to the attack taking advantage of the situation, but it can break through the defenses of the innate Dao body. It seems that this person is not an idle person, and there are also people who are also surprised. After all, in his eyes, the opponent is nothing more than a newly awakened fool. To be able to block the attack of his manipulator is definitely enough to be proud. But he wasn't going to stay any longer. An invisible force forcibly grabbed Li Zan's body into the air. Then he slammed him into the concrete wall. Countless stones swarmed in. All of them smashed into Li Zan's body with unmistakable precision. Suddenly, it was obvious that there was no chance of escape. I will weep when I see all the sacrifices. Loudly insulting the manipulator in front of him. However, Ren Wukong was just full of disdain. He didn't mind having more lives on his hands. It's just that it's been less than half a minute. There was another one behind him. I saw Li Zan shooting out unharmed. I also pulled out a steel bar and brought it out. Ren Wukong suddenly felt a chill in his back. Because in such a dense attack, no one can come out unscathed. What kind of superpower are you awakening? However, Li Zanzai didn't bother to deal with him. At the beginning, he felt that the other party's abilities were somewhat familiar. It wasn't until I turned on Sir Spirit that I validated my idea. At this point, there is no longer a so-called telepathic ability in your field of vision. Some are just a pair of white bone arms entwined with yin qi. This is quite similar to the attack method of the Tiantong sect in the past. The attack method with the power of Qi Yun is indeed considered a strong one. But if I only blindly care about insects, I won't be able to hurt me. With Li Zan's weather, he flipped head-on and fell. The 2 pieces of bones suddenly collapsed and scattered. Ren Wukong snorted even more, forcing out a mouthful of old blood. Where would he understand why his abilities suddenly failed? It's just that the skills are being re-energized again and again. Fortunately, Li Zan successfully swung the boulder before he burst in. It's just the same sentence. Considering the insect potential is useless, Ling Yu's sword hall stabbed. There is no master. In the next time, countless sword clothes were raging wildly. Instantly slice all the boulders into pieces. Where has Ren Wukong seen such a formation? Surrender is more shocking in the eyes. Because at this moment, he seemed to see the sword god down. A divine figure was rapidly approaching him. In the next second, Li Zan, who was holding the steel bar, passed through his body. The vertical method is exquisite, but it is not a self-cultivation method. This is your being. It's like every battle ever. After the victory, Li Zan will retract his sword and pry back at the same time. It will also point out the objections for the opponent. It's just that he may have forgotten that he was no longer in that world of immortal cultivation. Nor is there a sword in the hand. It's just an ordinary metal stick in this world. At this time, human Wukong is obviously not among the first battles. But his mouth was still the same as ever. Don't get complacent. Offending Wan Jintang will make your life worse than death. However, the voice just fell. Before the sacrifice could brew a feeling of fear, Gu Tianjue's voice suddenly appeared here. Legacy, who touched my Gu family? Ren Wukong was completely stupid by Li Zan's come. However, Li Zan thought that this guy was not convinced. I want to fight again. Where would Ren Wukong dare to have such delusions? Hurriedly knelt down and kowtowed, and the master in the ball spared his life. And on the spot, Wan Jintang Chen Beast instructed him to explain everything. After Gu Tianjue's explanation, Li Zan understood. It turned out that Shen Chu was just a dog raised by the Gu family at the beginning. It's just after leaving the Gu family. It's just the guy who creates a small gang to eat. Gu Tianjue immediately seized the opportunity, offered to help the benefactor with these trivial matters. Li Zan did not refuse. It's just while letting the characters roll in control. Let him go back and tell Sean. If you dare to harass him and sacrifice in future, at one's own risk. At this time, the sacrifice was very curious. He couldn't believe those people either. It turned out to be the Gu family. Li Zan, who came back to his senses. Then I remembered that people were still waiting for them. In fact, the brothers and sisters of the Gu family came to rescue each other last time. So I want to ask Li to be a guest at home. But Li Zan is really not interested in these forms. Besides, he believes in the strength of your Gu family. Even if he doesn't make a move that day, Gu Tianjin will be fine. Before Gu Tianjue could leave to keep Li Zan, he pulled the sacrifice and prepared to leave. It was Gu Tianjin who caught up and invited Li Zan again. After all, this is also the task assigned to them by Grandpa. Li Zan wanted to refuse again, and a strange feeling immediately attracted him. Li Zan immediately hugged Gu Tianjin into his arms. Really, the faint breath was even more pronounced. Gu Tianjin's face was full of shyness. I thought the benefactor had some idea. Oh, but it's not impossible. But it's still not appropriate to come on the street. I saw Li Zan's hand, directly dug into the ravine between Gu Tianjin's two wings. The three people at the scene almost simultaneously appeared 3 pieces of waste. But none of them could guess what Li Zan really thought, because it really appealed to him. In fact, it is this pendant hidden in the clothes. And this is a magic weapon that belongs to grooming. At this moment, everyone bowed their heads to their dirty thoughts. Otherwise, the masters are all holding the fish tightly. Where is it that they mortals can figure out at will? After learning that the pendant is only a vegetarian food in Taitong, one of the old man's many collections, Li Zan was even more convinced that the old man must know a lot of things related to immortal cultivation. So I promised them to come to the banquet. The gate of the Gu family is unsurprisingly luxurious. Sure enough, having money has always been just the standard for the powerful. The old man in the restaurant has been waiting for a long time. The table full of high-end ingredients was dumbfounded. But presumably in the eyes of the Gu family, it is just commonplace. Li Zan didn't want to beat around the bush. Get straight to the point and ask the old man about the origin of this thing. Gu Wen's face sank thoughtfully. It means that these small things are not worth being won. I just don't know what is special about it to get a little favor. Since there are countless collections of this object, I guess I know what is special. The two have come and gone, but it is not clear. It's so foggy. However, Gu Wendao was also cheerful and did not continue to embarrass Li Zan. After instructing Gu Tianjue to take care of the guests, I was going to lead Li Zan to find out in person. However, compared to the surface of the calm waves, Li Zan's heart was a little more suspicious. For if this old man had not deceived him, then I'm afraid there are still a lot of cultivation magic weapons in this world. But the problem is that these magic weapons are obviously not forged by those superpowers. So where did they come from? Until the elevator went all the way down to the 2nd, 4th floor. The elevator doors slowly opened. What catches your eye is 2 solemn and quaint Chinese gates. A familiar feeling suddenly made his heart tremble. As the pace progresses, what appears in front of you is more like a magnificent underground museum. The dazzling collection all reflects Gu Jia's resistance behind him. It's just that compared to Gu Jia, who is in full swing, I don't know that the old man's body is not very ideal. It only took a few coughs to stain the white handkerchief in his hand red. However, in the face of Li Zan's concern, he still has to say that it is okay. It's just some old problems. Then he continued to lead Li Zan to his most important collection area. Of course, the picture still upholds the old man's humble choice as always. Claims it's just a corner of his collection. However, Li Zan is not stupid. He could feel that there were indeed a lot of magic weapons here. But what puzzled him was, there is no written record of cultivating immortals here. And there are many magic weapons here, but the quality is not good. It's all a little bit of a chi practitioner that can only be eye-catching. Li Zan's blunt words will not immediately stick a knife in the heart of the ignorance. After all, this is the life of his life. I don't know how much effort and cost to get the insurance, but it also made him more sure. Li Zan was definitely the one he was looking for. I don't have the ability to satisfy Xiaoyu. The old man was deeply ashamed. But there's something special here. I don't know if Xiaoyu can reveal anything. That special thing is self-evidently the ring inside this glass cover. And he is also the source of the breath that Li Zan felt outside the door before. This ring is a cursed curse. Whoever takes this vow becomes insane and becomes insane. The crowd will be swallowed up by the black flames released. This is Gu Wen's explanation. But Li Zan saw the old guy's careful thinking at a glance. Is he testing himself? Because this ring is not a curse. It's called unrestrained. As he spoke, the ring came out of the window. Under the traction of telekinesis, he flew still towards Li Zan. Gu Wen was shocked by Li Zan's profundity, but at the moment, it's more about fear. Because he was all too familiar with that dark red energy. Just before he could shout, that energy had instantly permeated the two of them. In desperation, he could only release the barrier to protect himself first. But what's even more shocking, this black flame actually had no effect on Li Zan. You're exactly who I was looking for. Gu Wen thought silently in his heart. Li Zan on the side had successfully taken Wu Ju in his hand. But in fact, in his eyes, this is still not a substance. It's just that he still has some effect on the current one. So to it next. It's about taming this magic weapon. So Li Zan's mind moved slightly. The surroundings instantly became desolate. And this is the space of divine consciousness in the ancient realm. After a while, a familiar face suddenly appeared in front of him. This honorary three-handed dog is the one that his master accepted in his previous life. But now he is just like himself. The cultivation was scattered, and only a remnant soul remained. However, the nature of the violent destruction still caused him to launch an attack on the invaders in the first place. But even if it's a confrontation of consciousness, he won't be a match for Lizan either. Facing the three-handed dog of honor in the face, Lizan just used a look. The strong coercion instantly pressed him and made him unable to get up, no matter how hard he struggles. I can't get any closer to the man for half a minute, until a strange phantasm suddenly appeared behind the man in front of him. The battle from the Starpoint array completely made the three-handed dog dare not make any more thorns. Then in the blink of an eye, it returned to its original form and turned into a small, fierce dog. Lizan picked up the little guy with one hand and gave him a final warning. If there is any more thought of force in the future, and I will crush your soul completely. In the process of successfully recovering fearlessness also impressed Guwon. Is also more sure that Lizan is the person he has been looking for. Just the sudden recurrence of the emergency. It really put his life in danger again. With a large mouthful of rain, blood gushed out. Guwon suddenly fell into a coma. The life riot alarm on the wheel also erupted into bursts of buzzing sounds. Lizan, who came back to his senses, stepped forward to check it out as soon as possible. At the moment when his fingertips caught Guwon's pulse, every corner of the meridians of his whole body is clearly presented in Lizan's sea of stones. Soon he found out that Guwon had been ill for a long time, and the 5 veins were stasis. This is obviously the poison of red apricot roots. Lizan didn't understand that the Gu family had such a huge power. Who else would dare to poison and murder the head of this family? Originally, he didn't care about this kind of thing, but for the sake of unrestrainedness, he decided to take action to save Guwon's life. However, just as he began to get his luck ready to exorcise the poison, a patriarchal man burst in a hurry. It can be heard that he is Guwon's son. It's just that at this moment, he is pointing the finger at Lizan. He had never seen him face to face, and he misunderstood that Lizan was going to commit murder. No matter how Lizan explained, he turned a deaf ear. One is to accuse Lizan of plotting wrong. It's a bit arrogant to not know what to do. Lizan, who didn't want to talk nonsense with him, immediately mobilized his spiritual power. In the end, it was Gu Tinjue's brother and sister who felt it in time. This avoids the occurrence of conflicts. Didn't expect that this second uncle would always be unrelenting. I don't believe that such a young hairy boy will be a master at all. Fortunately, he still remembered that his father was in crisis. Said that he would wait until his father was cured, and then find Lizan to calculate the chief. Wanyan Lizan also understood the great feeling. However, he was curious that these people could cure the old man's illness. The blonde man named Andrew is the doctor found by the second uncle. He is also a healing superpower. He is good at treating phantom injuries by bathing in water. It's not bad. But it's a pity that Guwon's poison has long been integrated into his heart. It didn't work for him at all. Sure enough, Guwon once again poured out a mouthful of old blood. Everyone was taken aback. The old man's health showed no signs of improvement. Instead, his head hung down heavily, until Andrew made it clear that the disease was too weird. Their own superpowers don't help the facts. Everyone fell into deep despair. However, the second uncle angrily accused Lizan at this moment. Said that Lizan must have done something. It's what made the old man like this. Lizan was speechless for a while, but he did not defend himself at the first time. On the contrary, Gu Tianxin, who believed in his benefactor, could stand up. Since Dr. Andrew has no way. Second uncle, let the master try it. That's how normal people should be. But the second uncle was still against it as always. Compared to such an opportunity, he even believed in the judgment of one-sided fate even more. He must have killed your grandfather. And then Mr. Andrew. But he was a superpower of the healing system that was second to none. Not even him. What are you, a murderer? Seeing this, anyone with a discerning eye should be aware of the cat's greasy. Lizan, who is observant, naturally has a judgment in his heart. Stop me again and again. Is it really because you don't believe in my medical skills, or you have ulterior motives? At such a deliberate single time. I'm afraid that old man Bu can really only wait for death. The originally irascible second uncle was suddenly speechless. I don't know if I'm angry because I've been exposed. Or was he planning to break the jar and break it? The second uncle still ignored the obstruction and ordered someone to arrest Lizan. Now you can't blame Lizan for being ruthless. With the right hand wearing unrestrained, he snapped his fingers. A terrifying three-handed dog of hell suddenly leaped out of thin air. The terrifying face frightened everyone present, trembling in their hearts. No one knew what kind of summoned beast it was. I just felt a strong coercion. I can't raise the slightest desire to fight. And Gu Tianjue on the side was also dumbfounded, because he found that with such a talent as himself, I can't even perceive the level of the summoned beast. It's just that he still admires Lizan more in his heart. In contrast, some of the arrogant may be in trouble, because all of this is for the second uncle. At this time, he was so frightened that he collapsed to the ground, not to mention daring to look directly into Lizan's eyes. At this point, Lizan finally had the opportunity to check on Buwen's condition. Thanks to just Dan, his situation had clearly reached extremely bad proportions. But fortunately, none of these are in front of Lizan. I saw his palms move slightly. The air around it instantly became windless. Then the treetop steam oil dantian converges in the heart of the heart. With a loud shout, countless golden rays of light suddenly condensed into 9 slender golden needles. Where have these superpowers ever seen such a novel move? The Gujia brothers and sisters immediately paid a little more respect to Lizan. However, the orphan uncle with a hard mouth is always full of disdain. It was as if he had decided that it was impossible for Lizan to save the old man. But in the end, you have to reach out and make a point. At this time, the 9 golden needles had already come out. Under the guidance of yin and yang interpretation, all of them are precisely pierced into corresponding acupuncture points. The old man reacted immediately. Filthy flesh continues to draw out from the golden needle. At the same time, an exclamation erupted from Andrew's mouth, because he finally understood what Lizan was doing. It is one of the top medical skills in Huaxia, Chinese acupuncture. It is an ancient medical technique that can help correct and drive away evil spirits. It's just that due to the development of modern healing superpowers, this secret technique is also gradually lost. I didn't expect that there were still people who knew the goods. This is quite gratifying to Ryzen. But now is not the time for distraction, because Guwen's treatment has come to the last step. It is also the most critical step. That is a wave of qi that completely forces out the blockage that gathers in the heart. A shout rang out again. The aura around the time was also surging rapidly. With the old man's blow, he was suffocated. All the golden needles were also forced out of the body, and the brothers and sisters of the Gu family on the side even raised their throats and eyes. They hurried forward to check. Seeing that my grandfather still hadn't opened his eyes, I thought it was a treatment failure. This can give second uncle Gu a moment of pride. Look, I knew he couldn't cure the old man, but only for a moment. Guwen slowly opened his eyes, and it seems that the mental state has recovered a lot. The hearts of the Gu family brothers and sisters can finally be put down. It's just that contrary to it is second Uncle Gu's surprised expression. He couldn't believe he had been cured. And it's not just about recovery. One could feel his body feel completely renewed. He immediately thanked Lizan. Lizan actually didn't care. It's all just a courtesy. But if someone poisons it again in the future, you're left to ask for more than you can do. Hearing this, everyone was shocked. On the contrary, the second uncle stepped forward to accuse Lizan. Don't think you've cured my dad and you're talking nonsense. My father obviously had a leg disease caused by his research on superpowers. The sudden deterioration of the condition is what it is today. But didn't you swear that I hurt the old man by slandering me just now? Lizan replied unceremoniously. The second uncle's words actually can't stand scrutiny at all, because Gu Tianjin clearly remembered that his grandfather hadn't been involved in super research for a long time. And Gu Tianjua also remembered that his grandfather's leg disease had never caused any other problems. Thinking about it, it seems that it was only after taking the medicine given by my uncle that my body began to deteriorate. The answer is clearly self-evident. Guwen basically has a fixed mind in his heart. But this second uncle is still dying. Until Guwen took out a pill he was taking, and was ready to ask Lizan to help test it. The second uncle was completely panicked now. Hurriedly turned on the mad dog bite mode. If it's not poisonous, then you can drink it yourself. The second uncle was suddenly dumbfounded. Hurriedly turned his head to look at old man Gu. But at this time, Guwen had a gloomy face and didn't want to pay attention to him at all. At the same time, even Andrew began to reveal the bottom of his mind. He said that he had indeed heard Mr. Guer say that it was made of precious medicinal materials. However, it should not be harmful for normal people to drink it. The second uncle is completely desperate now. In a fit of rage, he immediately pulled out his gun and shot at Andrew. Fortunately, Lizan, who noticed that something was wrong, took action in time. Only then did he hold the bullet between his fingers before Andrew's head exploded. Me, what do you mean by that? I don't hear that the old man is angry, but it can be seen that he still wants to give his son a chance. But this guy really doesn't know what to do. At this time, he had to splash dirty water on Andrew's body. It's really not the heart of the Yellow River that doesn't die. So Lizan shot again, completely unraveled the last layer of his disguise. I saw that the arm that was covered by the cuffs was already covered with dark red blood. Of course, it can't be a birthmark. Andrew, who was a doctor, recognized at a glance that it was a mark from the poisonous erosion. To be precise, it was an accidental toxin from grinding red roots. I'm afraid that even the second uncle himself doesn't know that he is actually poisoned. Lizan, who is still through small pathologies, told the truth at this moment. The frightened second uncle hurriedly knelt down in shame and begged Lizan for help. But the problem is that he is not poisoned now. The poison master also slandered others. Before he was poisoned, he was afraid that there was more guilt to bear. Anyway, he can't stay in this Gu family no matter what. Yuven's final decision was to turn him over to Ducaf. When you hear these 3 words, the tragic scene suddenly hit his heart. He didn't want to go to that place even if he died, because that's not really a place for people. Gu Daming kept begging his father for forgiveness. It's a pity that no one will listen to his confession anymore. Something like this happened at home. This is something that Gu Tianjin, who was not deeply involved, can't understand at all. He didn't understand why the second uncle was doing this. But fortunately, they are masters today. Otherwise, Grandpa will be really dangerous. However, at this moment, there is another thing that bothers Gu Wen even more. That's where the boundaries come from. It turned out that Gu Wen was also an ambitious young man when he was young. I think that as long as I have absolute power, we'll be able to receive power and money. Since then, he has been trapped in it and cannot extricate himself. Even at the expense of the body, he studied superpowers. Only when he began to stare into the abyss has swallowed him. Gu Wen soon discovered that the super was hugely flawed. Seemingly powerful forces continue to erode people's sanity. However, when he was young, Gu Wen had already been consumed by interests. The great benefits of studying superpowers bring him completely let him ignore these potential risks. Until the last line of defense is completely breached. Gu Wen completely lost his mind that day. None of the personnel in the institute were spared. All of them fell victim to Gu Wen's desires. Since then, he has completely abandoned research experiments. But at the same time, he finally understood one thing. That is, superpowers are by no means orthodox forces that humans can control. So he began to devote himself to studying the history of ancient immortal cultivation. As he spoke, he was pushed over as soon as he said a dozen photos. It is reported that this is the spirit wood that Gu Wen encountered by chance in his early years, and the unbridled and most of his collection came from it. But Li Zan recognized at a glance that this was the remains of an immortal cultivator, and it can be seen from his size. Back then, this was also an era of cultivating immortals with abundant spiritual energy. It seems that there is something else down here. It is very likely that there will be something that will help me in my cultivation. Where does this relic occupy it now? Speaking of this, Gu Wen's face suddenly darkened again. It turned out that he realized the mechanism while exploring caused the spirit wood to collapse by fire. Gu Wen apologized for this, but he also made promises to Li Zan. If you need it, the old decay will spare no effort to find other ruins for you. Of course, the old man didn't dare to say anything from Xiaoyu's hands. As long as Xiaoyu is unprecedented, he can guide the innocent and innocent. It is already my Gu Jia's blessing. Li Zan naturally understood what old man Gu meant. But everything has to wait until a node is found before we are eligible to negotiate terms. At the same time, the other side. The entrance of the hall was as dilapidated as if it had just been ransacked. At this time, his good son Shun, who had just arrived home, thought that his father had already helped him teach Li Zan a hard lesson. But I never thought that I would see this scene as soon as I entered the door. Could it be that this old guy is doing something with Witch Gang? But it wasn't until I saw my father's face that was beaten into a pig's head. That's when he realized something was wrong. However, before he could ask the reason for the problem, the sudden slap knocked him to the ground. It turned out to be just a few hours ago. Wu Tianjua took the time to patronize this. And when they met, it was naturally the pig's head on Shun Yu's head. Look at this unassuming kid on the ground. Chun Mu suddenly became angry. But who is not good to provoke Li Zan? That kind of background is something we can provoke. In the end, it was Ren Wukong who came out to play the original scene. After all, it has already happened. It was also useless to anger the young master. The top priority is to entertain the distinguished guests of the Oriental family. One day runner-up inside the university, Li Zan, who was born out of his bones. The joke sister frequently attracted envious eyes. Anyway, Mr. Gu talked to you about something last night. Why did he still have a serious face when he went? When I sent you out, I was full of spring. I just talked about some deals. An indescribable picture suddenly appeared in the mind of Wen Yinji. Li Zan shouldn't want to be a son-in-law? Oh, absolutely not. Why not? How would Li Zan know that the girl had already played a big drama in her head? Inexplicably, he was also put on the hat of injustice. Just then, someone suddenly called his name. When I looked up, I realized that it was the menacing Qian Hu and others. The surrounding classmates were in an uproar. Everyone knows that Li Zan beat Shan Hu in public. It seems to be a good show to watch today. Then I saw Shan Hu rushing up with a sword step. Then he knelt directly in front of Li Zan. During this time, he kept apologizing to him. Everyone is watching. Even the son of Xiao Dong had to submit to Li Zan. It seems that this fool really has a backer behind him. But Li Zan's side doesn't care about this. He just hoped that these mortals would not come to bother him and the sacrifices. Just then, there was a buzzing of a mobile phone vibrating from the sacrificial's pocket. However, the above content made his face suddenly solemn. Li Zan, who noticed the same, immediately cast an inquiring gaze. But the temple with a sensitive heart didn't want to involve Li Zan. After saying nothing, he pulled Li Zan to rush to class. And what made him feel so uneasy in his heart? But it was just an invitation text message from Dongfang Yanchua. The Saturday after the stay, Li Zan is practicing the name God in a corner of the playground with a relatively strong aura. After doing it all day, he quickly aroused the curiosity of his classmates. But more often than not, his brain has not fully recovered. At this moment, Li Zan's aura began to leak out. Then they all rushed to the three of them on the runway. The three classmates suddenly felt a chill in their backs. Then the piercing sensation grew stronger. It was so hard that they fell to their knees and couldn't breathe. It turned out that everything was Li Zan's little sword of disadvantage to them. It's just that I didn't expect these prosperous superpowers. It's hard to even bear the breath that I leak at will. Until Li Zan's fingers moved slightly, after completely dissipating the aura around several people. That's why they fell to the ground with such a heavy burden. It's just that this inexplicable sense of oppression still makes them feel emotional. But when they looked up, they understood. Because at this moment, Li Zan is staring at himself. Now you don't have to think about it to know who you have offended. Several people immediately panicked, and 2 or 3 people fled. It's a pity for Li Zan. The aura here is still too thin. Being able to reach the 7th level of chi training is already the limit. I want to break through the attack. I can only wait for the old man's treasure haul. At this moment, a phone call from Louis came. Once again, the bottleneck was broken. Wan Yin Li Zan's eyes immediately widened. Only then did Li Zan know that the shrine had been taken away. It turned out to be in the East Yuan Shua. The text message sent to the shrine was sent by Wu Shiho. He also enlisted the help of the shrine's biological father. In order for my father not to harass him again in the future, the priest had no choice but to agree to meet. But at the same time, in exchange, he had to cut off his parents' relationship from now on. So 2 minutes and 30 seconds ago, he had just followed into this 5-star hotel. As the door slowly pushed open, what greeted you was a tall and luxurious private room. And the camera of the room sits. It was the young master Dongfang Yuan Shua from the Dongfang family. It didn't take long for the Drew Hotel to welcome new guests. Li Zan finally found this place. Was stopped by a row of waiters. Li Zan came up and asked directly where the sacrifice went. The foreman didn't know who the man's name was, but it was obviously the woman that the young master of his family had at today's banquet. In order not to disturb the young master's yaxing, she decisively turned on the mode of playing stupid and asked the man to leave here. But Li Zan can move these physical fetus. Even if all of them go to hip-hop together, nothing will change. Sure enough, they waved sticks one after another. Not even the basic defenses of the innate Dao body had been broken. All of them were blocked 3 inches away, and Li Zan glanced at it coldly. It's just a slight outward aura. They were scattered instead of all falling back. Lin Ban now knows that he is in trouble with hard tea, but his mouth was still the same, always holding the name of the Oriental family in an attempt to deter men. And the fearless Li Zan had only one sentence from beginning to end. Where is the sacrifice? The violent noise quickly attracted Chun Liv's attention. This made Lin Ban suddenly seem to grasp a life-saving straw. Hurriedly reported the situation to the hall master. Chen Beast and Li Zan have never met each other. So as soon as he came up, he began to threaten men with the face of the adjutant. Until the person behind him, Wu Kong, quietly told him that this was Li Zanho. Immediately, 2 drops of urine were squeezed out of Li Zan's name. Then he hurriedly greeted Li Zan with a smiling face. Reach out and don't hit the smiling person. This trick is good anywhere. Li Zan was also angry and asked him again about the location of the shrine. However, after learning that the shrine was the person invited by the young master of the East, although Chen made a difficult decision, he quickly made the right decision. So he invited Li Zan to join as soon as possible, and ordered Yuan to personally take the Li Zan brothers to the suite on the top floor. Of course, Shen Chu knew that offending Dongfang Yuan Shua would not have good fruits to eat. But what could he do? If it is hard, no one present will be Li Zan's opponent. And Gu Jia will also not let go of herself. It's better to take the opportunity to tell Gu Jia the news. By the way, you can also take a hand of Gu Jia's person, please. By the way, Li Zan kicked open the door and saved the sacrifice. Just when he was about to give Dongfang Yuan Shua some color to take a look. That is, the metal superpower who arrived. But he perfectly blocked all the damage for his little master. But even the ancient void of a 9th level superpower still felt the sense of oppression from Li Zan's body. If it weren't for Dongfang Yuan Shua's death order, he really didn't want to be an enemy of such a master. Then the war was on the verge of breaking out. Escape gracefully suddenly became a bullet point war. For Kalekong, who is good at manipulating metal, advanced modern weapons are naturally his best choice. It's just that every one of his attacks didn't materialize. Li Zan only relied on a few dodges, easily dodged all the bullets' tracks, because he has long seen through this convergence ability to play online tricks. In fact, it's just a low-level method to imitate the cultivation technique. But if you don't say it's a level 9 superpower comparable to the pinnacle of practice, even if he took a punch from Li Zan, I still don't forget to seize the opportunity to fight back. I saw that his right hand was slashed into a sharp blade and stabbed straight towards Li Zan. It's just that the results are still no different. I saw Li Zan clasping the other party's wrist tightly. Then he reversed backwards and directly threw Gu Laikong into a back. Caught off guard, he snorted a mouthful of old blood on the spot. It's just that I didn't expect him to be able to fight back in this situation. Gu Laikong's mouth suddenly turned into a muzzle. Even in a casual situation, several bullets were fired. I thought that this would hurt Li Zan somewhat, but I didn't expect that I still underestimated the strength of the other party, because the 9 bullets were being caught between Li Zan's fingers without missing a beat. If it's a normal bullet, forget it. but this is something that I have refined with my own abilities. Li Kong is completely looking at nothing now. He had to guess that Li Zan might be a speed-type superpower, but the next kick quickly put this speculation out of his mind, because there is no way that a speed-type superpower can have such great power. Just one kick smashed the concrete claymore behind the house. If you hadn't conjured up your whole body armor defense in time, I'm afraid that if you don't die, you will be crippled. But that means there's only one possibility. That is, Li Zan should be an extremely rare composite superpower. Just when Gu Lai was empty, Li Zan came behind him again with a dodge. This time he had nowhere to run. A kick from the Thunder Armies pushed him directly a few meters away. However, Li Zan's attack did not end. The magic circle of red leaf blue light appeared out of thin air in an instant. Then I saw a dazzling golden light burst out from the hotel window. The whole sky of the world shines brightly. The golden light could not be dissipated for a long time in the air. Witnessing everything, Chen Ji completely looked at something. After all, if he was really born, he would be blamed and escaped. At this time, the ancient space has been exhausted. Even the alloy armor on his body has been wiped out. But maybe it's the sympathy between the strong. Li Zan, who was unwilling to kill innocents indiscriminately, said that he could let him go. But Gu Laikong has already entered the Oriental family. How can they flee from the battle? I saw that he took out a tube of potion out of nowhere. And then it was as if with some kind of mortal determination to help. It was only then that his body was full of power again. And it's more bursting than before. Obviously, it was a secret medicine that overdrew vitality. But what makes Li Zan feel the difference is this. He actually felt the breath of spiritual power from it. It's just slightly different from spiritual power. In the next second, the attacks from the ancient space swarmed again. It's a lot more powerful than it was just now. But that's about it, because they still can't even break through Li Zan's protective shield. And since the other party listens to the best of his ability, then Li Zan didn't plan to stay. With the sound, the three-handed dog of the name Jade was realistic again. This time Gu Laikong is completely incomprehensible. How did the ability to summon play appear again? However, he was not allowed to wonder again at the moment. Several shots were squeezed out of Gu Laikong's body. The explosion of Mars and the reinstatement of the book still have some effect. This also allowed Li Kong to regain the information. The firepower of the whole body completely poured out. The three-handed fist that lost the battle was annoyed and ashamed. If you compare to Wang Hua, no one can compare to yourself. Countless red swallows in the world gushed out. In an instant, the cannon fire of Gu Laikong was annihilated. Even the remaining abilities on his body were eroded away by the red swallow. Apparently there is no longer a World War I. It's just that they have made enemies with each other. And it's not good to show mercy to your subordinates. Li Zan's heart moved slightly. The comet aura condensation of a stalk had already penetrated Gu Laikong's head. It was a must-have insight of his own making. As soon as it came out, it was regarded as one of the strongest sword intents in the cultivation realm. And this first sword intent can cut people and hearts. That's why it can hurt people and be invisible. But it can take people's mobile phones. The shrine that stood by and watched the battle was scared to death. After all, this shot is brave. The slightest bullet could kill him. However, he was soon attracted by the little dog on the ground. It turned out to be an honorary three-handed dog that lifted the battle. Juvenile morphology is restored. At this moment, the soft and cute appearance is indeed lovely. But the question is why Li Zan can even summon superpowers. In fact, it's not just one time that I can't figure it out. Even the two guys on the other side couldn't figure it out. A fool can defeat a 9th level superpower. This is completely beyond their comprehension. But what made Dongfang Yuan Shua feel even more humiliated? Since he was a child, no one dared to slap him in the face like this. The next time, a group of people in black will be unable to vent Li Zanwei's water. It's just that Dongfang Yuan Shua has just finished his cruel words. Was stopped by a voice. Touched the grievances of my Gu family, but I take my family in my eyes. This voice is no longer familiar to Dongfang Yuan Shua. When I looked up, I realized. Old man Gu didn't know when he had already appeared in front of him. Of course, he knew the weight of the Gu family. The entire clearance is comparable to his Oriental family. There is only the Gu family. So even if you are seriously injured, there should still be etiquette. It's just that he doesn't understand Gu, who hasn't even attended the Super Energy Chamber of Commerce for many years. Why are you here today? On the contrary, the inheritance behind him is even more vicious. At a glance, it can be seen that the Gu family is Li Zan's backing. No wonder this fool can be so arrogant. In front of Li Zan, Gu Wan was still as humble as ever. After a simple Shua immediately took the initiative to ask Ying to deal with trouble for Li Zan. Li Zan is also too lazy to entangle with this little Shao gangster. Just look at Gu Lao's face. Spare that boy's life today. Didn't expect Dongfang Yuan Shua to have a bad story. The strength is not good, but the mouth is not forgiving at all. Until Gu Lao's people held him down. Dongfang Yuan Shua realized that this old guy was going to fight. The least you annoyed is to offend my entire Gu family. Today, I'm going to teach you a lesson for your little friend. Dongfang Yuan Shua's face was full of incredulity. The super cooperation between the Dongfang family and the Gu family is the most important thing. You don't want to affect the loss. But how did he know that for Gu Wan? Li Zan is his Gu family's biggest reliance in the future. If the Oriental family really wants to declare war, I will be with my family to the end. Gu Wan coldly dropped the sentence and was about to leave. Dongfang Yuan Shua was completely panicked at this time. After all, he really couldn't turn his face with Gu Lao, not to mention that it will affect the cooperation between families. If it is known by the elders of the family, they will also be questioned about their ability to manage the company in the future. However, before he could weigh the age, a punching bag fist is already in the face. But this punch also woke him up completely. Hurriedly apologized sincerely to Gu Wan, who had not gone far. Of course, Gu Wan couldn't be scared to death. After a warning broadcast, the day's mess ended. However, Dongfang Yuan Shua's chi was not so easy to dissipate. A cup slammed into the head of the heir to the sky. After all, Li Zan is the adopted son of his ex-wife. He didn't even know about it. In this regard, the inheritance of the day also expressed helplessness. He really didn't know that Li Zan would have something to do with the Gu family. And he has just received news of a large number of cancellations from customers. Dongfang Yuan Shua was angry but helpless. But there is no doubt about one thing. That is, Li Zan and Gu Wan must die. Maybe you can get rid of Li Zan under the pretense of someone else's hand. The proposal of the inheritance chapter immediately made Dongfang Yuan Shua think of a group of people. Then let them send Li Zan to hell. At the same time, the other side, the resignation that had been tense all day, was also ready to wash away the fatigue of the body. After this encounter, Jai Sai has a new understanding of Li Zan. He's really changed a lot lately, although sometimes they talk nonsense. There were some images of shame. Li Zan in the living room would never have thought of it. At this moment, there is a spring heart in his family playing for him. And yet at this moment, suddenly, there was a sharp knock at the door. Then it turned into a noisy collision. Li Zan immediately thought that it was the killer sent by the disciples of the royal treasury. But when he actually opened the door, he saw it. But it was Gu Laikong who had fought to the death with himself. And at his feet were a group of unidentified men in black. It turned out that Li Zan's strength and conduct really made him ups and downs. It is no different from the worldly master he's longed for since he was a child. That's why I decided to leave the Dongfang family and join Li Zan. But Li Zan knew whether he had other purposes. However, after being severely injured by me, it was restored in just half a day. This kind of physique and superpower that is different from ordinary people. It can really come in handy. But Li Zan did not directly agree because of this. Instead, he was ordered to prove himself by guarding outside the door first. At this time, the ritual of completing a bath also happened to push the door out. Fair and pink skin. It looks particularly attractive under the steaming heat. But before Li Zan could explain what had just happened, there was another hurried knock at the door. Only this time it's no longer Kalekong. Instead, Gu Tianjin had a sweet face. It turned out that Gu Lao asked him to send Li Zan something that could be used. But in the eyes of the sacrifice, the other party is really not good. The vinegar coat in the heart is the limit of the mark. Gu Tianjin conveyed his grandfather's meaning, while ordering someone to open the suitcase. It's not a seven truth. I only hope that I can help Li Zan somewhat. And that's exactly what happened. For Li Zan, it is just a material that can be used to refine magic weapons. But then he needed a statue of Ludi. Gu Tianjin immediately thought of what his grandfather had deposited in the antique shop. It's just that due to the seal of the stone box, it is inconvenient to write the imperial book. I'm afraid that the benefactor will go and get it in person. This is not a difficult thing for Li Zan. Just go over there. But the sacrifice is not good. In his eyes, he had long regarded Gu Tianjin as a rival in love. And now so many things that look valuable are being given away. I'm afraid it's not for Li Zan's deception. This is making the two lonely widows go out at night. Wouldn't it have been cooked physiologically long ago when they returned? The more he thought about it, the more panicked he became, and he exclaimed on the spot, "Don't go out so late. It's too dangerous out there." Wanyin Li Zan was slightly stunned at first, but it soon came back to its senses. Presumably, the shrine was still worried about the daytime. This is not without reason. So for the safety of the family, in the end, it was decided to go back tomorrow morning to get Lu Ding. After sending Gu Tianjin and the others away, Li Zan hurriedly comforted the shrine. It means that from now on you will never let anyone hurt you again. But the shrine was going to be laughed at by this fish-eyed head. After all, he doesn't worry about others hurting him. He was just worried that Li Zan would be abducted. Early in the morning, Li Zan followed Gu Tianjin to Daddy Zhang's antique shop. They were greeted by the boss Zhang Ming. It's also an ordinary incapacitated. After a brief introduction to each other, Zhang Ming welcomed the two to the gift for the first time. After all, Master Gu had already explained before he came. And this statue is covered with seals and specially protected. It is to give the top of Li Zan's skull. What I didn't expect was that Li Zan only glanced at it twice. Let the boss throw it away. Because this thing is simply an inferior product that does not enter the stream. However, Li Zan was not in a hurry to leave. Instead, he traced his gaze to a utility room at the end of the warehouse. because in his eyes, there is a rich energy exuding there. I asked someone to set up a superstar array and sealed him inside. If you let him out, it will be a big problem. However, Lee Jae still waved his hand regardless of it. Forcibly removed the debris and opened up a way. He could clearly feel that the closer he got to this door, the more energetic he became. So he had reason to believe that there must be something in it that he wanted. Zhao Ming went down the mountain completely. What level of superpower is the young master here? Oh no. Anyway, it's very strong. Wu Tianjin said with a determined face. There was no intention of stopping Li Jie at all, and they just followed Li Zai to the room. But no one found that there was a man hidden on the beams. With the sound of the 90 years of repair being pushed open at the door, what caught my eye was a strange purple formation. Standing on it was a large gray bronze iron statue. But even this can be seen at a glance. This is a haunted house with a high-quality home. Then I saw Li Zan's fingertips move slightly. A golden aura suddenly burst out, and the haunted house instantly seemed to come to life, constantly destroying the atmosphere in all directions. In the next second, the eyes on the pattern suddenly lit up with 2 purple sacs. Immediately after, more purple chi gushed out of his mouth. After a while, the entire room was washed away by this purple aura. Apparently it was the thing that was sealed inside that had awakened. I don't think so. With all the purple chi gathered back into the haunted house, a giant boar with a mouth full of fangs suddenly rolled out. Ah, give me freedom at last. But it starves me. Come on, let me eat your dirt. Say, he did it with all his might. Crashed headlong into Yozan. Li Zan immediately opened the barrier, but it was still knocked off the tree. The boar monster didn't give him the slightest chance to breathe, crying towards Li Zan again. So rebellious. Looks like it's time to give a little color and take a look. With that, he snapped his fingers and swords and roared. The second time of the Linua sword technique. The walls are slippery. Wait for a moment. The sword chi of spiritual power pierced through the body of the boar monster. Li Zan approached step by step like a grim reaper. Surrender or die. The choice is yours. Boar monsters naturally know how to make a living for themselves. Decisively chose to surrender. After confirming that there is no danger, Boss Electric and Not Naive just walked in. Benefactor brother, I knew you could handle it. Li Zan nodded lightly, followed by, his eyes were tilted behind him, pointing a bolt of light with his finger backwards. How long do you want to hide? Do you think I didn't find you? The aura struck the assassin on the ceiling with precision. The assassin was in pain. Li Zan approached step by step with both hands inserted. Who sent you? The assassin first appeared begging for mercy. I'll give you everything. The guy, please spare your life. Then take advantage of Li Zan to relax his vigilance. Use super to shoot spider silk. Block Li Zan's next stock. Ahahaha, idiot. Dare to be so lax in front of me. I will cut off your head and receive your reward. Soon, however, the assassins realized that something's wrong, because no matter how he uses you, it's Berg, who keeps slashing Li Zan. Li Zan pulled the pig shredded balls with his hand. It's time for me to show you your loyalty. His voice fell. A powerful force burst out from behind him. The boar monster rushed murderously. Hold on tight. It froze through the assassin's body, followed by, he opened his mouth wide open. Not to the assassins. Let me eat your dirt. Unexpectedly, he was scolded by Li Zan. Shut up. Chu Ran chose to surrender to me. The evil way of salvation in the past should be reined in and corrected. The monster suddenly looked like a child who had made a mistake. He rolled his fingers aside. Li Zan crouched down to look at the clues. He took the other's hand. A 5-pointed star was found on the wrist. When the shopkeeper saw this, he suddenly broke out in a sweat. It's actually a blood demon teaching. Legendary blood demon teachings. It is a superpower killer organization that has existed for thousands of years. They are not affiliated with anything. Only accept commissions from wealthy nobles. They're all a bunch of people who want to get things done. A scrupulous madman. Even if it is to lose his life. Mr. Li, what kind of existence are you provoking? I learned that it was Dongfang Yuan Shua, the young master of the Dongfang family. The shopkeeper was trembling all over. Gu Tianjin's face was full of anger. Dared treat his benefactor's brother like this. I'll just inform my grandfather about this. Gu Lao's face was full of gloom when he heard the news. Please report it to benefactor. Let him be reassured. The Gu family will definitely give him an explanation. Meanwhile, Dongfang Yuan Shua was complacent in the bar. You shouldn't have tolerated me. Don't hold a grudge against me when you're dead. After all, you brought it on yourself. And be a second. And he was surrounded by men. The other party didn't say a word. I carried him out of the bar. He was then thrown into a Ferrari. Dongfang Yuan Shua was arrogant in the last second. Do you know who your father is? Dare to kidnap young Master Ben. But when you see the people in the car, immediately became docile. Simber, how is you? It turned out to be Xianjun, the housekeeper of the Oriental family. Xianjun was too lazy to talk nonsense with him, grabbed Dongfang Yuan Shua's hair, and came to the door of Gu's house. Then he stomped on his head with his foot. Young master, do you know that you have committed a great sin tomorrow? How can the head of the family trust the property to you? Said that he looked up at the Gu family and yelled. Before Xinjuan came to your mansion on behalf of the Dongfeng family. Break off the cooperation between our two families. There is no harm but no benefit. I hope Gu Lao will think twice. Yuan Shua's facilities are not deep. If there is an offense, now the noble lady has come to plead guilty, said to stick him out and kick him hard. Kick at Dongfeng Yuan Shua's Kuan. Wu Tianjue represented Gu Lao to promote the other party. Grandpa said, to offend a benefactor is to offend the Gu family. Old and new, please come back first. After all, the most important thing at the moment is the Oriental family. It is to be upright and windy. Right. Xinjuan's expression was serious. He stood with his deputy. At this time, the Oriental family has many talents. Set to teach him a lesson with his feet again. Gu Lao watched everything upstairs. After this incident, the Oriental family will definitely not dare to offend you again. Li Zan didn't take it to heart at all. You called me here just to watch the show. Of course it's more than that. There is something I want. The old decay has been found. Li Zan returned to the room and sat down. Opened the treasure and levitated in the air. Then he waved it with one hand. All items rushed straight to the haunted furnace. A moment later, the ghost furnace flashed with golden light. Plumes of smoke rise. Li Zan lightly hooked his fingers. Give it to me. 3 magic weapons suddenly flew out of the ghost furnace. Although the shape is different, but they all have the effect of an object. Even if it's an attack of the 7 modifications, it can also be easily blocked. Come to think of it, Li Zan turned around and went to the sacrificial room. This is what I personally built for you and Lu Yi. This thing is worn in the deep to keep the peace. In the future, if I am not there, you can rest assured, too. The corners of his sacrificial mouth hooked, secretly happy. This fish nerd has finally opened up a little, but he soon reacted. Wait a minute, so where are you going? Li Xantha didn't reply to the ball. I'm going on a long trip. You don't have to cook for me these days. And so on out of the house. Yuli Kong hurriedly saluted him. Li Zan didn't talk nonsense. Directly placed the third body protector. Set on the wrist of Kale Kong. Feel the aura emanating from within. Yuli Kong's eyes lit up. Mister, this is... Li Zan glanced back at him. This thing can help you in your cultivation, but take care of the people in your house. If you have a different mind, it will also make your life worse than death. Do it all. Li Zan's eyes set off with confidence. Came to the outskirts of Sungchi City. Gu Tianjue began to introduce Li Zan. The Black Duck Dead Bean Farm is a gray underground fighting gym, similar to the Muggle Black Market Pipe. The only difference is, the people who fight in it are all superpowers. The boss of the Dead Bean Farm has a somewhat strange personality. Even if the pressure is exerted with the fame and fortune of our Gu family, won't let us into a season. Unless it's for our 2 siblings to participate in Dead Beans. We have promised. After all, if you get into trouble with them, we'll delay you into the season. Hear this. Li Zan hesitated slightly. Gu Tianjin was strong and hurriedly comforted. You can go for a season with confidence. Benefactor brother, we'll leave that to us. Li Zan is still a little worried. Asked, Dead Bean, you two can be sure. Gu Tianjue said that there were contestants inside. All have to bring special abilities to hold consistently, with the strength of our brother and sister. Even if you can't beat it, it can also save lives. Li Zan lowered his head and sighed. In the realm of cultivation, often, people with such a mentality find it difficult to live to the fullest. In your modern parlance, it's just that you can't survive the 3rd level in the TV series. So he held Gu Tian's innocent little demon with one hand, pointing a finger at his European beating. Gu Tianjue suddenly became extremely oxygenated. I just feel hot and dry. Just when Gu Tianjue was worried about his sister, Li Zan didn't say a word. A finger on his chest as well. Gu Tianjue was suddenly furious. The soul body is enveloped in blazing flames. My superpowers are out of control. What have you done to me? Li Zan faintly. Don't talk. Serious feelings. Gu Tianjue immediately closed his eyes. The flames that had been touched by him. There was no burning of his body. This was the moment he knew. The previous super method used was wrong. Accompanied by Gu Tianjue's exposure, his superpowers have risen to a level. Gu Tianjin also had a trace of the same feeling. It's like being in a paradise. And the ability is gradually improved. I've untied the blood of both of you. This is a reward for you. When the brother and sister heard this, they immediately bent down and thanked them. Thank you for your advice. In the future, it will be a master soup knife. Come inside the death arena. Li Zan found that there was a mixture of fish and dragons inside. Gu Tianjue reminded in a low voice. A lot of it is the poison of death. Only absolute strength can stand firm. Especially those who wear red bracelets should pay more attention. If you mess with him, you're in big trouble. His voice fell. Someone teased Gu Tianjin. Raw faces. Little sister accompanies brother goodnight. Unexpectedly, next second, he was kicked to the ground by Li Zan. Red Ring Taboo no San put his hand on Li Zan's shoulder. Do you know what this place is? How dare you make trouble here? Now return to me. I can spare you from dying. Li Zan was preparing to do it. Gu Tianjue reminded beside him. The master is extremely dangerous. Don't be presumptuous. Just when the two were at a stalemate, the deathmatch boss walked out. Newson Mountain. These are my guests. That's all there is to it. Nuoshin glanced back at Li Zan. Snorted coldly. Since the cigarette spoke, I'll give him face. But don't think it's that late. That's it. Li Zan followed the boss to the office. He said that level 1, you can go if you want. As long as the Gu family brothers and sisters can participate in a deathmatch, it is a gamble. Just let him make a steady profit and not lose money. Just don't blame me for not reminding you. If you go in that place, no one will come out alive. Hear this. Brother and sister were inevitably worried about Lizan. But Lizan did not refuse at all. He closed his eyes. The device sensed probes inside level 1. It turned out that the Yinfu National Soul Array was arranged inside. This array can take the soul of an intruder. No wonder no one who went in made it out alive. Prepare a table for me. I'll go back to level 1 later. Gujia's brothers and sisters thought about it. Lizan is to test their commitment after accepting the instructions. As everyone knows, Lizan is going to fight out of his soul. Go and destroy the formation. When his spirit came to the inside of the ruins, I found that the aura inside was very mixed. Before he could think, the gargoyles inside. It turns out that the designer had long expected that someone would use a hidden soul to break into the object. The stone soul demon was deliberately set up here to ambush. Lizan pointed at the center of his eyebrows. Maggot goblins. And dare to do harm before the king. His voice fell. The aura fluctuations around the body are violently extinguished. Smash all the stone statues to slag. It is a low-level magic weapon for the stones dropped by the soul demon. And there was nothing he wanted. Just as he was about to dig deeper, a giant red beast rushed up to him. Succumb to evil. And how dare he make a thorn in the presence of this king? Lingluo Sword Tower second time. Garrison the Sword Tower. Just one move. The first king killed the Golden Soul Reaver in seconds. You must know that he is in the demon beast realm, but it's a terrifying existence. It is the king of demon beasts that attacks against the gods. Lizan is sure that there must be something in the demon king's body, but when he slashed 4 swords in succession, but they still can't perceive any activity. Even the specific orientation of the formation. It is also left to hide the breath. He just wanted to continue his investigation. There was a cry for help behind him. Forget with the sound. It was a girl who was bound by the formation, named Xiangying. Lizan stretched out his hand and pointed, cut off the chains and turned them to him. Thank you, Xiaoxia, for saving me. Thank you for your pleasure. Is it a rescue sent by monkeys? However, Lizan did not answer. It's just as cold as frost in a faint castle. I want to live out. Just hurry back into your body. Xiangying was very scared. I want to leave with Lizan. But Lizan sat down. Mind a heart. Didn't pay any attention to her. Xiangying was not angry either. Instead, he looked at Lizan with a shy face. This guy has a bit of a bigger attitude though, but it's still pretty handsome. A moment later, Lizan's spirit returned to its original form. Now all you have to do now is wait for the formation to be cracked. You can enter the remnants through your physical body. Meanwhile, the deathmatch between the brothers and sisters of Gu family. It also kicked off with the shouts of the audience. They were fighting against the Death King Timo brothers. The battle has not yet begun. The audience began to scare the Imo brothers. The 2 brothers and sisters of the Gu family are pampered. It won't last long at all. It seems that this time it will be a steady drill. Ha 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 ha. Although Imochian was also afraid of the Gu family's power. But think of the rules of the death arena. Even if it was a mistake to kill them, you can stay out of it. So he took 100 feet in a fighting stance, prepared to send them to the grave to protect them. The Gu brothers and sisters were not to be outdone. Burst out with all your might. Sister, don't be afraid. We have been instructed by the masters. Defeating the other side is not a problem. His voice fell. Walk over each other. Unleash a fist of infinite fire. But Imochian only sang and danced with one move. It's easy to dodge. Just rely on these 3-legged cat kung fu. Also dare to go to the stage to duel. Such self-determination. Gu Tianjue suddenly broke out in a cold sweat. Is this body a figure? Pumpkinshing's speed is superb. Imo Shin didn't give him the slightest respite. In an instant, he drew a sharp blade and slashed it. Gu Tianjue caught the flaw. A kick was reached out in front of Moji and knocked him back. Unexpectedly, the other party had quietly come behind him. A black curtain quietly condensed in his hand. Gu Tianjue was carelessly shot in the eye by Black King. Not good. Completely invisible. In the case of losing a career, he was stabbed hard before Imo. Gu Tianjin saw it in his eyes. When you want to go up and help. But how could Empress Imo let him get his wish? Perform a super meteorite to suppress it. You'd better worry about yourself. Gu Tianjin suddenly fell to the ground in pain. See this scene. The audience cheered. Well done. Hurry up and dry up the 2 siblings. Chicken legs are indispensable to your Imo brothers. There is only a way to praise the scene. Now is the real beginning. The 2 brothers of the Imo family came to Gu Tianjue. It's over. A pampered rich boy. My loaf is full of poison. Gu Tianjue's body burst out with a fiery aura. It's the same as I used to be. It is really impossible to change the martyrs in front of you. But now I'm flying slime. You simply can't beat me. With that, he slammed a fist of fire. The ground was blazing, brutally blasted in half. Imo Xian was instantly surrounded by flames. No way. Aren't you poisoned? Why can you still act? Gu Tianjue snorted coldly. What you think is a peerless poison. It doesn't hurt to tell me about it. My no-shot fire has been pointed. It can already be resolved. Toxins that invade the body. Behind the scenes, I watched my brother who lost his combat effectiveness. I want to help him get revenge. And be a second. He was frozen by ice magic. I saw Gu Tianjin, who had just fallen to the ground. He stood up unharmed. That power is flowing. Replenish the super energy in my body. Benefactor brother, thank you for your kindness. Then the Gu brothers and sisters went hand in hand, intended to give the other side the final blow. The Mo brothers witnessed the rapid surrender. Don't do it. He threw in the towel. With the referee announced, the winners are the Gu Xiao brothers and sisters. The audience immediately wailed. Only Li Zan seemed to have expected it a long time ago. Evoked a smile of relief. The Gu Xiao brothers and sisters hurriedly came to Li Zan to ask for credit. How about a benefactor? We're doing pretty well, aren't we? But Li Zan shook his head. So. There is still a lot of practice. The siblings looked frustrated. I'm sorry. It's that we're too self-righteous. Li Zan smiled faintly and comforted. But it's not undesirable. In the future, we will strive to improve ourselves. Something can still be done. These words gave Gu Jia's brothers and sisters great encouragement. We will not be satisfied with the wishes of our benefactors. Concentrate on cultivation and strive to be able to take charge of your own affairs. Just when the two fell into joy, the shopkeeper walked up. Congratulations to both of them for winning the competition. The two of them showed special energy in that death match. The control of the super capsule can be described as perfect. More than everyone has a desire to play. Gu Tianjue didn't bother with his sycophancy. Polite words are dispensed with. It's time to deliver on the promise. Let's get into the season. Unexpectedly, the shopkeeper told him to calm down. Promises will be kept. Deceive the boss helplessly. There are rules in the death arena. The opponent designated by the red ring must be combated. If you break the rules, will be banned from entering the Black Crush arena for life. The two were at a stalemate. Li Zan said lightly. Anyway, just by the way, I will let you see and understand. It's a rare opportunity. How many can be mistaken? It is all by your creation. Classical Chinese. The Gu family brothers bowed deeply to Li Zan. Obey the Wen people. We'll be sure to watch you learn from the battle. After wearing the bracelet, Li Zan entered the door for testing. It turned out that this was a magic weapon for cultivation. Internal vertical loop. It's really not your average practice. Technicians in the death arena. Looking at Li Zan's data, he was full of doubts. What the hell is this guy sacred? It's terrible that the numbers are high, but he doesn't feel any superpowers. With the entry of Li Zan, a new round of deathmatch has officially begun. Ladies and gentlemen, let's take it next. It is Li Zan, a competitor who participated in a deathmatch for the first time, and his opponent has a lot of background. It's the number one in our death arena, Blood Demon Mountain. The audience was enthusiastic. Mountain Lord, we're all on you. You're going to have to knock that little white face down. No Sugi's fist crackled. The kid met again. I said it was endless. I'd like to see. What are you capable of being so arrogant? His voice fell. Swing your blood fist forward. The bloody aura rushed towards Li Zan. Was blocked by Li Zan's protective steel. Defensive super. I'll see how long you can last. Let's talk about it. His offensive is getting stronger. Li Zan still didn't move. Just quietly watched him pretend. After a moment, he faintly spat out a few words. Lingluo's swordsmanship 20th. It will slip without interest. Suddenly, the gravel on the ground suspended in the air. Fly quickly in the direction of MT. No. Yuoshan is also quick with eye disease. Spill a puddle of blood and beat it. As everyone knows, Li Zan has taken advantage of this gap. Dodge over his head. This was followed by a screed stone sword. Hit Nozin in the abdomen. The latter was immediately knocked out of the woods. Smoke billowed from the ring. Nozhan struggled to his feet. Stared at Li Zan. I'll admit that I did underestimate you before. But next, you won't be able to hurt me in the slightest. His voice fell. Hold your hands firmly on the ground. Net lifted the floor with his bare hands. Go back to hell. The weak stone slab rushed straight toward Li Zan. Li Zan raised his hand and touched it lightly. The gauntlet was raised, and the abandonment was given. However, when the slate touches the gauntlet, it gives up. Li Zan found out. There is also a trace of blood in it. Next trait, and I saw the slate burst open. Splashes of blood. Broke Li Zan's body protection and gave up. It also scratched his cheek. Actually, in such a short period of time, break through my innate inverted defenses. As a low-level superpower. Mental. Nozen's eyes flushed. There was a smug look on his face. Do you think I'm only there to that extent? You know why I'm called the Blood Fiend. That's your blood. It can also be used by me. His voice fell. Blood on Li Zan's cheeks. Rapidly expanding in an instant. The next second, I saw Li Zan drowned in the sound of explosions. The audience was full of shouts. It's still a mountain field. It's a really exciting visual to watch. Gu Tianjue hugged his head and cried and regretted it. It's over, it's over. Something big happened. I shouldn't have brought him over if I knew I wouldn't have brought him here. How can I explain it to my grandfather now? But Gu Tianjin reassured him. The benefactor's brother will be fine. It stands to reason that Nozen should be very satisfied with this result. But the look on his face was balanced. Wrong. How can the broadcast not announce the end of the game? Sure enough, things took a turn for the worse in the next second. I saw Li Zan walking out of the smoke. The corners of his mouth curled with disdain. You're a little better than I thought. If it is someone else, bound to die under your attack. It's a pity that you've met this king. But Nozin didn't refuse. There's more blood on your face than you did before. I don't believe you're not dead in this explosion. But he soon reacted. The body actually began to lose control. Not only can a super energy in the body not beat, I didn't even feel like I was trembling all over. Li Zan shrugged his shoulders. Export, your time is up. Ready for the same, said and waved his fingers side by side. The sharp sword chi directly penetrated Nu Washan's body. He spat out a large slice of ketchup. He then lost consciousness and fell to the ground. A sudden reversal made the audience a little fierce for a while. What just happened? Why did the mountain fall suddenly? Accompanied by the fall of Nozhan to the ground. The referee announces the result of the match. The victory has been decided. The winner was Li Zan. The audience scolded for winning. I've overwhelmed the mountains. How could he have lost? One of the hats in the crowd takes off his glasses. His eyes were fixed on Li Zan. Li Zan, your dead heir has arrived. Li Zan was naturally aware of it. But he didn't get it. But he didn't look back. Still walked towards the lounge. Because what we have to do now is to go through a plan. The Gu family brothers and sisters hurriedly followed. The benefactor brother is amazing. Not even the red ring can beat you. That was the case just now. If it's us. It is estimated that he has already died and died to laugh. Do your best to defeat the strongest red ring fighter. Admire, admire, admire. Gu Tianjue thought that he was going to find another reason not to let him strike. Immediately snorted coldly. What kind of tricks are you going to play this time? Naturally, the shopkeeper did not dare to slack off. Someone else will take you to that place. Everyone, please come with me. That place is right down here. On the way, the shopkeeper asked curiously, please describe how much others are talking about. Why do you want to go to that place so much? Wanyan Gu Tianjue's face was full of impatience. The master naturally had a reason for wanting to go to that place. You better don't ask more. The shopkeeper bowed his head and headed west. Do you remember what people said? Anyone who has been to that place will die. This is not what Majesty hears. The little girl had broken through by mistake before. Afterwards, he became a vegetative person and never woke up. Even spending a lot of money on a superpowered doctor won't help. Compared with people, it is to see that Mr. Li's strength is extraordinary. You can definitely make a name for yourself in the death arena. If something happens, others will feel sorry for it. But Li Zan didn't care at all. You won't bother with this. And your daughter is fine. I believe that I will wake up soon. His voice had just fallen. The shopkeeper received a call from his subordinates. Inform him that his beloved daughter Shengyan has woken up. The shopkeeper suddenly realized. It must have been Li Zan who saved his daughter. Li Zanta didn't look back. I already know the exact location of the ruins. No need to lead the way. Go back first. Gu Tianjin's face was full of admiration. Brother Ren is too powerful. When did he go to save the boss's daughter? How we don't know. Gu Tianjue was even more admired. The master has great powers. Give him away. Meanwhile, Nozhan who woke up in the hospital. The hatred for Li Zan's sword. Damn Li Zan, it actually made me lose face in public. Lao Tzu must kill him. His voice fell. The hat brother who was at the scene just now. Stillness walked to the ward. It seems that both of us have a common enemy. What do you think? Do you want revenge with me? Meanwhile, Li Zan and the others have already reached the first level periphery. Gu Tianjin looked left and right. Attracted by the smell of heaven and earth aura, Gu Tianjue looked at the traces of the fight on the ground and fell into deep thought. There were no obstacles along the way. Could it be that the big thing has come to clean up the battlefield before? Li Zan looked at the hole on the outskirts of the first level. The palms of his palms burst with golden light. The soul reaver has been broken. It's time to go inside and have a look. Said to raise his hand and wave, blasting the golden mangs at the barrier of the entrance. A hint of chill was revealed. It's up to you. I also dare to swallow this king. His voice fell. The skull's appearance gradually cracked. In the next moment, it turned into chicken powder and dissipated into the air. The Gu brothers and sisters were full of adoration. He is truly a master. A single glance can destroy the evil shatter. That's cool. Just as they continued to dig deeper, hidden in the corner, Nozhan eyes of the people. I've been in a death arena for so many years. I didn't even know there was such a ghost down there. Who is this Li Zan? Brother Hat snorted coldly. It doesn't matter where he is holy. He's going to die anyway. Gu Tianjin sensed that the closer he felt, the aura of heaven and earth is getting stronger and stronger. Li Zan found out that he had a good hand on Reiki. To be sensitive to general grooming. I plan to train him well in the future. Wait until you come around a corner. Li Zan stretched out his hand to stop the Gu family brothers and sisters. Then he made a close quarters movement. Signaled them not to act rashly. Then Li Zan looked cautiously at the wall. Found a lot of lonely ghosts floating in the town. In order to avoid unnecessary trouble, Li Zan chose to take a detour. Come to the heart of the ruins. There are a lot of magic weapons here. Did anyone live here before? The whole person is entangled. Ha. This body is mine. Seeing this, Li Zan put his fingers together with his sword. Raise your hand and wave forward. Golden sword instantly penetrated Gu Tianjin's body, forced out that red aura. Then his legs went limp, unconscious, and fell to the ground. Gu Tianjue hurriedly came to the front to help. Sister, are you alright? Li Zan's eyes were cold. Fingers are lightly hooked. A jade pendant printed with the 3 big characters of the Blood Soul sect flew from the ground and fell into his hands. Earlier, it was suspected that the Woodmaster's habits were similar to those of the Blood Spirit sect. Unexpectedly, he was really a monk of the Blood Pool sect. Why does this realm exist? The same sect as the cultivation realm where I am located. However, the Tao Law once asked the immortals to have a total of 3,000 worlds. There are sects with names and the same habits in other worlds. And not surprisingly, the aura contained in the ancient relics here is rich. I think what I want is around here. Suddenly, there was an explosion at the entrance of the cave. Interrupted Li Zan's thoughts. Nozin and 2 9th-level superpowers slowly walked out of the smoke. Ahaha, stinky boy. This time, there is no Death Arena's bracelet to suppress the strength. I'll see where you're still fleeing. Said that he was afraid that he raised his hand and swung a bloody fist. The crimson blood rushed in the direction of Li Zan. Now there is no suppression of the bracelet. Plus there are 2 other superpowers present. Li Zan didn't dare to be careless. It can only be avoided for the time being. The moment the blood touched the wall, suddenly there was a red light. Explosions followed. It's just aftershocks. It can make the whole seat shake endlessly. Li Zan had to deploy an innate Tao body defense to resist him. Gu Tianjue gritted his teeth angrily. It's just a matter of losing to a big thing in the Death Arena. Even asked the helper to retaliate privately. It's despicable and shameless. Meanwhile, Nozhan and a 9th-level superpower, Fat Dog, joined forces to attack. Yin Chang dodged later. The pressure on the Ricted bar doubled. The attacks of the 2 combined. It can easily break through the defenses of the innate Tao body. For me now, it's an unprecedented challenge. However, this battle can also help me strengthen my inner life. The cultivation after helping me is very powerful. His voice fell. The fingertips condensed the breath of the ancestors. The next moment, it was suggested that the golden sword appear in her hand. Then she swung hundreds of swords forward. The sharp sword chi slammed down on Nosugi, but Nosugi knocked it down with only one hand, while being scratched by the wound. But for her, who has the title of Blood Fiend, that's tickling in the brain. It's just a superpower. Dare to equip in front of me, Nuo-shan. I see where you're running today. Suffer death. Let's talk about it. She uses the blood from the wound she just had. Swing it at Li Zan again. This time the blood clotted on the way. The spiritual power contained in it is further converging. The resulting explosion will be even more intense. Li Zan made a defensive gesture with his sword in both hands. It seems that this is the ability of another superpower. He has a precise grasp of every piece of blood. Makes them lose the effect of the explosion. However, Nosugi took advantage of this gap. Throw the Fat Dog at Li Zan. Li Zan naturally dodged it easily, but he didn't understand the force of doing so. Until you see the clotted blood behind the Fat Dog, Li Zan understood. It turned out to be a combination of the 2 of them. The next moment, I saw the blood explode violently. Near face-to-face damage. Made Gujia's brothers and sisters inevitably worry about Li Zan. The power of this move is just too great. Isn't it dangerous to do big things? However, the smoke dissipated, but there was a Fat Dog lying on the ground. Li Zan used the 50th of the Linua sword technique. The defense was turned on in time. Nosugi couldn't help but be surprised. He's not dead yet. His voice fell. Grabbed the Fat Dog and let out cruel words. This guy's superpower is recovery. Even multiple injuries can be recovered. His blood and body can be turned into my bombs. How many more times can you carry it? Li Zan's eyes were closed. Don't take him seriously in the slightest. When he opened his eyes, he drew his sword and stabbed at Nosugi. Nuo-shan was suddenly hit by 7738 swords in his body in 1 second. Then Li Zan put his sword on his neck. It seems that you are no more than that. Are you ready for a look? But Nosugi was not afraid at all. There is no restriction of the bracelet. The red blood cells in the fire blood are urged by the ability. It has the power of a volcano. Do you think you'll be able to escape like last time? Ahaha. And yet next, he saw the strange effect. I saw that his blood hadn't touched Li Zan yet. It is instantly inactive and dissipates into the air. Li Zan raised his sword and ballistic. It's time for an end. Haven't started yet. There was a gunshot next to him. Li Zan used his sword with his backhand to swing. The bullets that came in time flew off. But I didn't expect Li Zan to contain aura. The moment the bullet slashed next to Li Zan, explosions rang out all around. Nozhan didn't give him the slightest chance to catch his breath. Grabbed the Fat Dog and attack again. Under the repeated attacks of the opponent, Li Zan weakly supported his body with his sword. The physical limit is about to be reached. The masked man laughed and couldn't get out. You don't think he's superpowered? It's just a matter of coagulating the blood and helping me. Everything in this world. He can enclose solids and release it when needed. The warhead of that bullet. It was he who made it with a supercoagulation current. In other words, he can use any element as a super. He's my real killer. If you are in reality, just admit defeat. You can't beat us. Li Zhang's eyes were cold and snapped his fingers. In that case, I won't pretend. Take a good look at the gap between you and me.